As soon as he walked into the hospital, she said she thought he was fine. In fact, they were flirting. And she was ready to take his number down after he asked her, hey, what are you doing after this? Only to find out that he was HIV positive, and she thinks he wasn't going to say anything at all. The title of this video is, so let me tell you another story about a lot of men concealing their HIV positive status. And she talks about the women too. No more wasting time. Let's check it out.
And let me tell you another story about how I know that conceal their their status when they are HIV positive, especially men who just are just like whatever, or I'm on an antiviral. I used to work at a clinic. I worked in healthcare for a long time. So a lot of people don't know that a code for HIV positive or AIDS clients is called Ryan White. So they are under Ryan White, which is a whole different funding in case they are underinsured or whatever. Mm-hmm. And this was put in place by a child that was HIV positive. I believe he got it through a transfusion or something. I don't remember. But so you would be surprised. So when people come in and they enroll and they give you their name, you just see them at the counter. And so sometimes I would be sitting with my colleagues and I'd be like, oh my God, he is fine. Like, oh, I'm about to get his number. And then she would laugh and be like, okay, you're going to register him. So she'd be like, here, go over here to Brienne. Brienne's going to register you. And she would be looking at me. And the person would give me their name. I'd be casually flirting, like, hey, how are you? Registering them, but extra nice. Like, yeah. Right. So, I love your dreads. They're nice. So, your shape up looks good. And you're typing their name in. He about to give me his number. Like, oh, yeah, what you doing after? He Ryan White. Under his chart, right at the top, it says Ryan White. So I know automatically that he's HIV positive or he has full-blown AIDS.
Whoa. So I never heard of the Ryan White term, probably a medical term that, of course, most of us probably would not know unless if we work in this field. But I do want to focus on something that she said. She said, especially men like to hide their positive status. I don't know. I don't work where she works. Obviously, I am not a nurse, but I do wonder, does she notice because she's a woman and men are more likely to hide their status from her? Because let's say a woman walks in. What reason does she have to really work really hard to hide her status, right? I can imagine if you asked a man who works where she works or in her field, he would probably say, hey, I've gone through the exact same thing, right? I've seen women come in, some of them very, very attractive, only to find out that they are also Ryan White. We're going to look that up too. I'm curious to know what that is. Let's keep listening.
And so this is why I'm telling y'all that there would be sometimes people that you see at certain clinics and certain places that you see often at these local parties, and often are ladies, men or, but for HIPAA purposes, I can't say anything. I can't be like, oh girl, you better watch out. That's your business. This is why you have to be mindful.
Right.
And not one time, not two times, not a dozen times, more than a dozen times. Clients would come in and you would be like, oh my God, she is breathtaking. Oh my God, he's beautiful. And it doesn't take away from that they're aesthetically beautiful and they may be beautiful people, but it doesn't take away from the diagnosis. But this is why I'm telling you guys, you think you don't know what you're getting. Just because something looks good does not mean that it's good. And this is why it's important that out here that we're teaching our young people and that we are protecting ourselves. This is a real thing out here.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing for a lot of people. And the way I see it, I think videos like this are really helpful. There are times where fear shouldn't be the driving force for you to change your life, to be better. But when it comes to this, oh yeah, you need a little fear.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
You need to drink that coffee. A quick word from the sponsor of our channel, FathersHaveRights.com. At FathersHaveRights.com, one of our expert attorneys compares marriage to an iceberg. The iceberg represents your future marriage, and you only see 10%. What you don't see are the hidden terms: alimony, child support, custody, visitation. Most men sign that marriage contract blind, focused only on the wedding day. Future husbands, a prenup is the best way to legally protect yourself if you value marriage in our modern day. Hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section to join the hundreds of men securing their marriages the right way. Let's check out a few of these comments, see what the people have to say. Then we have one more video after this. Top comment here reads, I remember the Ryan White story. I learned it in middle school in the 90s. I'm also kind of curious here, so I'm going to ask Ms. Coffee a little bit about the history behind Ryan White. While I'm doing that, if you're somebody who works in a field where you're doing this type of testing, has this been your experience? Share down below. We'd be curious to know. Ms. Coffee, what can you tell me about the history behind Ryan White? We're talking about HIV here.
All right, let me give you the clean history, because Ryan White is one of the most important names in the history of HIV in America.
By the way, guys, I have a photo here pulled up. Here we go, and let's keep listening. I believe this is Ryan White. It would suck if I had the wrong person up here, right? Some like random kid is like, well, what the F?
Ryan White was a teenage boy from Indiana who became the public face of HIV/AIDS in the 1980s, not by choice, but by circumstance. He was born in 1971. He was a hemophiliac, meaning he relied on blood transfusions to survive. In 1984, at age 13, he was diagnosed with HIV after receiving a contaminated blood product. At that time, HIV was widely misunderstood. Many Americans believed it could be spread by casual contact. AIDS was heavily stigmatized and associated almost exclusively with gay men and drug users. Ryan White did none of those things. What made Ryan White historically significant? After his diagnosis, Ryan tried to return to school. The response was brutal. Parents demanded he be banned.
Okay, that's really interesting. So he got HIV very young, and following living with it, he wanted to return back to school, and people started to protest. The key thing to realize here is this was at a time when people believed that HIV was spread through casual contact. You may listen to this and think, oh, they're horrible people, but let's be honest. Hey, if you believed that, and you didn't know, right? People just didn't know that this thing that would kill people was spread through casual contact. A lot of people would be out here social distancing. People were doing a whole lot worse for COVID, which would primarily affect a particular group of people. So this is a very interesting history.
The school initially barred him from attending. Families claimed their children would be infected. Death threats were made against the White family. They were forced to move towns. All of this happened despite doctors confirming Ryan posed no risk to classmates. This became national news. How Ryan White changed America's view on HIV. Ryan and his mother, Jean White Ginder, went public. They didn't do this for fame. They did it to survive. Ryan appeared on national television, spoke calmly, intelligently, and without anger, humanized HIV in a way America had never seen before. For the first time, many Americans realized HIV was not limited to one group. You couldn't catch it by sitting next to someone. Fear was driving cruelty, not science. Major public figures supported him. Elton John, Michael Jackson, Princess Diana, President Ronald Reagan, who publicly mentioned AIDS only after Ryan's story gained traction. Ryan White's death and legacy. Ryan White died in 1990 at just 18 years old from AIDS-related complications. But his death changed federal policy. Later that year, Congress passed the Ryan White Comprehensive AIDS Resources Emergency Care Act, which funded HIV, AIDS treatment and care, focused on low-income patients, became the largest federal program for people living with HIV in the U.S. The Ryan White program still exists today and supports hundreds of thousands of Americans. Why Ryan White still matters? Ryan White matters because he exposed how ignorance turns into cruelty. He showed how fear overrides compassion. He forced the country to confront medical misinformation. He shifted HIV from a moral panic issue to a public health issue. He didn't argue. He didn't preach. He simply existed, and that was enough to change minds.
Very interesting. So check this out. Here's Michael Jackson and Ryan White. So we do have the right guy here. And here is Princess Diana. And right behind him, you have Charlie Sheen, who ironically has HIV. So as you can imagine, you have a bunch of people, it sounds like, who believe that you could contract HIV from simple casual contact. But then you have all these celebrities who people really look up to, who are hugging him, touching him, shaking hands with him. And so that changes public sentiment. And it makes sense that people understanding this at that time was necessary. With that being said, I think it's still important to remember that the number one way that HIV is still contracted is through unprotected sex, right? That's the truth. So in this video, the same lady talks about how somebody who she knows contracted HIV. This is pretty crazy. Check it out.
So let me tell y'all a story, okay? Real fast. Now, my hair's not done, and I don't care because I think that it's important. So you guys know that the HIV and the AIDS rate is very high. And so I'm going to share something with you guys that's very important. So I have an acquaintance that I was really cool with for a long time. This acquaintance had went ghost for some time, and I hadn't heard from this acquaintance. And when this acquaintance popped back up, they messaged me on WhatsApp and they said, listen, I had been, down and out. Okay. And so I just kind of went ghost from the world. So they disclosed that they were down and out, and they had found out that they were HIV positive. And so they didn't know how to react. But what made this such a plot twist was this person is heavily involved in parties in a certain community. If you know what I mean, upside down pineapples and things of that nature. Heavily.
Those swingers. That's what she's talking about.
Heavily involved in the swinger culture, heavily involved. And very popular in this particular culture. But that wasn't, this person did everything that they were supposed to do. And so they let one of their exes know that they were, the clinic called around and told all of his exes that, hey, and the people that he had been most intimate with, that, hey, this person is HIV positive. But why I'm telling y'all this story is because I need y'all to hear me.
Right.
This person's antibodies are now so low that it cannot be detected. And this person is still having these parties, or whatever you call them. I don't know what they're called, swinger parties, whatever. And what happens at a lot of these parties is when people come to the door, they take a rapid test. And the rapid test will come back negative. Well, it will naturally come back negative if your antibodies are low at a certain low level too. I say that to you to say that he let one of his ex-girlfriends know that he was whatever. She didn't want to do anything. She didn't want to go get an antiviral. She didn't want anything. Nothing. She wanted to do nothing. Okay? Hear me out. She ended up coming back to him a few months later, but her baby father ended up coming back to him telling him I'm looking for this girl because I'm going to, do something to her because she gave me the house in Virginia.
Find you a good person, settle down, and stay out of these streets. That's my advice. I'm going to do what I want, man. You can't. Okay. Enjoy.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Are you following? Here, this is her baby father that she had several children with. Okay. Mind you, this man that was in a relationship with her in the meantime, had already let her know that he was HIV positive, that she should go get on antivirals because they were still together even after he found out that he was HIV positive. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So this girl was still out, doing the whole city.
What?
She was fine. She acted like nothing. Well, guess what? About 6 months later, she got sick. She said, okay, let me go check. Guess what? She had HIV. Viral loads crazy. Still doing whatever. And now that this one person's antivirals are so low, they're still doing whatever they want to.
Yeah.
So this is why I told you, y'all got to stop thinking that everybody's safe, because everybody is not safe. And that's why I'm very meticulous about who I'm with, and being with one person is very important for me. That's why the whole sneaky link is cool, but that's why I can only be with one sneaky link. I should really be getting duffed by 30 people, but I can't do that. I can't do that because I know certain shit from out.
Wait. What did she say?
One person's antivirals are so low, they're still doing whatever they want. And being with one person is very important for me. That's why the whole sneaky link is cool, but that's why I can only be with one sneaky link. I should really be getting duffed by 30 people. But I can't do that. I can't do that because I know certain shit from outside, from the inside out. People. I have people that can fight. It's just diabolical. So let me.
Wow. Yeah, listen, I'll say this. People like to jump to, because I see it all the time. People jump to, but it can still happen. Sure, you can get hit by lightning, but there's steps you can take to increase those chances or lessen those chances that you get struck. And there's levels to it, right? Protection, one partner, marriage. And there's nothing that's a fail-proof. There's no chance in hell. No, of course. But you can greatly decrease those chances. And listen, I tell you guys, every time I make a video like this, is I think we should all, including myself, look back and say, we're lucky. If this isn't your story, then you're lucky. I'm not ashamed to admit that. You need to thank God and live more wise. Because one of the things that I used to think about all the time is when you stumble on a photo of a woman who's obviously trying to like gain a following through thirst trapping and gaining attention, and men too, right, who do that. Most people just look at those people and they think there's no chaos there and only beauty. But you have no idea what's happening in some people's lives. I mean, you have celebrities now who are getting on PrEP, right? So things are getting crazy. All right, let's check out a few of these comments. Top comment here says, everybody needs to just be on PrEP. Everybody. Somebody else who says, house in Virginia is a new one. Here's somebody else who says, you can be with one person and you can still get infected. So these are the people I'm talking about. Yes, it's possible, but that's the exception to the rule. I guarantee you, majority of people who are contracting HIV are not in marriages, are not committed to one person. Again, yes, it happens, but this is like saying, hey, you shouldn't eat better because we're all going to die anyways, or we all get some disease when we get old anyways. So what's the point? You see how crazy that sounds? Somebody else here says, Rose to the rescue. So this lady here is depending on her Rose to sort her out. There she is. Here's somebody else who says, this sounds like an Atlantis story. Somebody else who says, this is why I cannot do hookups. Another person here says, people take HIV so lightly, but once you get it, you got to keep track of it and have frequent appointments and meds, and hella expensive without insurance. It's sad out here for real. Yeah, I saw somebody post how expensive the medication. That blew my mind. Of course, guys, I'm curious to know, what do you think? Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link into the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.